September call-ups are around the corner, which means a prospect can be called up at any minute. This could be the difference of winning a championship and being left out of the playoffs. I got that and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source for fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Matthew Ane. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that bell below and subscribe to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode, which you don't want to miss out on. Also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, wherever you're getting that audio source, make sure to subscribe there as well. Plus, leave us 5-star rating and review. Really helps out the show. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit FanDuel app today to start planning your future bets now. I'm making up words today. That's great. All right. It's going to be a great way to start the podcast. But look, like I said at the top here, look, there's prospects and coming up at imminently. Let's put it that way. September call-ups are always a thing of beauty. They could be the difference maker. Not all of them. I mean, it's a lottery pick, right? I mean, anything can happen, but even guys that, you wouldn't really expect can have a hot week. It could be the difference. And that can be the thing that thrusts you to the championship or keeps you out of it because you're on the other side of it. I remember Dominguez when he got the call, even though it was legit a week and then he had to get TJ. So what I will say is, that week he was called up, he was absolutely monstrous. He actually thrusted me to the top there and just really crushed it for me. So all I could say is he's going to be the difference maker. A guy like that could be the difference maker when they get the call up. So, these names are important. We need to pay attention. So let's get into it. Just came here, give you what you came here for. Jordan Lawler of the Arizona Diamondbacks, number 23 overall prospect in all of baseball, having a good year in the minors. So 229 at bats, 50 runs, 21 doubles, 5 triples, 10 bombs, 46 ribs, 19 stolen bases, and batting .319. This is a nice little bounce back from having, a couple bad years. I mean, granted, he's always been good in the minors. He could just never cross that threshold to be good once he gets the call in the bigs, which is always disappointing. This is the part that's like a catch-22 with him. He's a guy that has high, prospect pedigree that, has the potential and shows it out in the minors, but just can never bring it home. And, this reminds me of a Jared Kelenic or, others that have gotten the call that was supposed to be the top end prospects and then end up pooping the bed and just never really going any further in the bigs. And that's what I suspect Lawler is. But I also want to highlight him because one, he's playing well and he's stolen base sources. He's supposed to have, batting average and all that stuff behind him. And maybe, this September's the call and this September's the time he does it. So he's worth an add and maybe not the first guy to run out and go and get. But he is one of the higher ranked prospects that we're going to be talking about today that I think can be called up this September. That could be a difference maker. And if he does, in a pinch or in just a start that I might need to take advantage of, what their plus stats are, might be the guy I add. We'll see. So we'll see. I'll be able to give you more updates and maybe beat you to the waiver wire, beat your team, your league to the waiver wire if you join the sub tab. So check that out. Let's keep moving though. Let's talk about Peyton Tolle. Peyton Tolle is a prospect for the Boston Red Sox, a pitching prospect and a first base and a designated hitter and an everything, at least on Baseball Savant. Now, I will blatantly say I am not the most familiar with him, but I will say this. From what I've seen in preparation for the show, he is a really good pitching prospect, straight up. This season alone, 86 innings pitched, 124 strikeouts, 3.12 ERA, and a 103 whip. Look, he is a good pitching prospect. He's at the perfect age too, 22 years old, was drafted last year, and is a guy that could fit the build to get the call up this spring. He has a 70 out of 70 fastball, a 45 out of 50 slider, a changeup that's 40 out of 45, and command that's a 45 out of 60, which is actually, pretty interesting. It's something that is pretty worth noting. Like, hey, like they're already kind of known for their command. That's how they're graded now. And, the sky's the limit essentially with him. Tolle is a guy that, is going to be called up to a young team, a team that's also aggressive in calling up their players this year, and could very well get the call, especially since I feel like they need something this year to give him a little boost. So if Tolle gets the call, I'm going to try and add him and see, depending on the matchup, if it's worth rolling out. Because hey, I'm always game for getting a above average pickup that possibly has some high upside that I might be able to roll out for a couple weeks, depending on what the string of matchups look like. And hey, who knows if he can show out what he does in the minors, which a lot of times, like with pitching prospects, you see them come up and start hot, and then they kind of fall off because the league figures them out because they've seen them quite a few times. Like Mick Abel, for instance, had a bunch of at like first three starts, I believe, were pretty nice. And then obviously league adjusted as he came back, and then he wasn't able to be as successful. But that's the benefit of being a new pitcher in the league. Like, you do have an advantage. Nobody's seeing your stuff. Not a lot of people really have that much tape on you, et cetera, because nobody really pays attention to the minor league clubs and things like that. So there is a possibility where, hey, you can come up, be an impact player during the playoffs and a key part of the season where you're just like, wow, I'm so glad I added him. And hey, who knows? Maybe he's more than 1 week start. So let's see. Let's pay attention. Let's see if he can actually get the call. Again, Boston is pretty aggressive. I could totally, totally, totally see that happening. Now, let's move on. Let's talk about Lazaro Montas. Another prospect here. He is a outfielder for the Seattle Mariners. A younger cat. I don't really know if he's going to get the call, but he's definitely worth noting. So far in the minors, 400 at bats, 64 runs, 16 doubles, 7 triples, 28 bombs, 78 ribs, 5 stolen bases, batting 250. He really does look good, like straight up, like young dude, Cuban, a guy that like really is packing a punch here. You also look at just like some of his just like physical attributes, like 6'5", 210 pounds type deal. Like, this is a big boy. He gets called up. It's exciting just based off the profile and how big he is, and the fact that he already has 28 home runs on the season. Now, weird, quick look in terms of just like who he is and how he's graded. So 30 out of 35 hit tool, 25 out of 60 game power, but 60 out of 70 raw power, which means he crushes the ball when he makes contact. Speed is 35 out of 30. Fielding is 30 out of 40, which is great. And here's a little note too. Montas has transformed as an athlete and hits for big power at the Marlins. Hitter friendly, ballpark affiliates. He's projected as a power hitter, platoon, outfield DH, whose role will be limited by defense, perhaps also by case. So like, he does have a strikeout problem, which, hey, what prospect doesn't? But I truly don't even look into stuff like that just based off the fact that like, you know, these days, like, guys strike out like crazy, but yet still, you know, are able to put up decent batting averages and do things like that. Maybe not as valuable um, in points leagues, but still somebody that can do it. I mean, he's reminding me a lot of what like a guy like a Juan Soto that was called up. Now he's nowhere near Juan Soto level, but when they're crushing the ball like this and is able to make the difference and is in double A, there's always that chance that like, hey, if the Mariners feel like getting aggressive with their prospects and see if they got something with this kid and possibly give him that boost in that lineup, whether it's injury driven or just a guy going on a coldie, you know, maybe let's get Montas in, see what we got, and see if he can stick around because, man, that would be incredible. I mean, it's not like the bottom of the lineup is really loaded either. So there is room for him if they did decide to make that move. So I could totally see that happening. So Montas, um, somebody I'm definitely trying to keep an eye on. If he gets a call, I'm definitely adding because he could be the difference maker for your team. Coming up next, I got 2 more prospects, and then we're going to roll into some guys that are hurt right now that I think we need to pay attention and stash because they will be a difference maker come the playoffs. That's all coming up right after this. August 25th is officially FanDuel's Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for the bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown the Super Bowl champs before week one, even kickoffs, this is your moment. So take a flyer on an MVP race, crown your champion in August, or parlay your division winners, dark horses with. So visit FanDuel's app today and start planning your future bets now because future day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game, and I got a bet for you too. Little parlay. So I had the Cubbies winning the championship this year, the World Series, and I'm also going to tie that in with two others. Detroit winning the Super Bowl and Penn State win the college championship. And when you do those three, it is a massive payout. Obviously, incredibly hard parlay, but we've seen it done this year. So why not take a shot? And it's also on future day. Put it out there. FanDuel, play now. Hey, if you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, make sure to check us out on the Insider Track. We'll be able to get so much more than we offer in this 30-minute podcast. Look, you want to stay ahead of your league and get those September call-ups. You're going to get the best alerts in the business from us. You text directly to your phone. In addition, you'll also get you'll be able to get rankings from waiver wire episodes, key stats that we highlight from every episode that we feel that are important, and you'll be able to ask us questions. So check us out. Links in the description below. And this is the best time to get in because you get a free 2 weeks. So check us out. Links in the description below. But let's get back into it. Let's talk about Jose Briseño, I think is how we say that. I'm going to try and not butcher that. Let's try this. I'm going to just spell it out because you know what? I can't do it. So if you're listening on audio, it's Josuebriceno. But I think Briseño is how you say the last name, but I'm probably butchering that as well. I apologize. Leave it in the comments below so that I can get an appropriate pronunciation from somebody. Can't find it anywhere on the internet. But yes, let's get at it. So he is a Detroit Tiger prospect right now. And so far on the season, he has 293 at-bats, 50 runs, 19 home runs, 71 ribs, a stolen base, batting 270, an OBP of 388, and OPS of 914. He is 6'4", 200 pounds even, and standing at a lovely 200 pounds. The kid is a physical specimen. Francio is legit the 32nd prospect overall in all baseball, has a hit tool of 30 out of 50, game power 30 out of 55, raw power 55 out of 60, speed of 30 out of 30, and fielding 40 out of 45. Francio looks good behind the plate when healthy. He broke out in the fall league. He's a well-rounded hitter who needs to prove he can sustain big offensive performance under rigorous and of an entire season and do his thing. So that's the thing. Like, the only thing I think holding him back is essentially injury. And hey, these things happen. But again, 20 years old, there's plenty of time. Now, if the big boy decides to get the call, this can be interesting. I like the physical attributes of this kid straight up. Like, hey, big body guy, standing at least 200 pounds, obviously showing off great raw power, is able to crush the ball. These are things that like you really want to try and get. Now, what's the likelihood of him getting called up? 50-50. Tigers are playing well. Could they use a little boost? Maybe. Is what it is. But at least there's that opportunity. And, the fact that he has, catcher eligibility in first base is nice. Especially the catcher, like, if I can get but I'm one of it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, cool. If you can get the boost, if I can get a guy that's coming in, a catcher that has power and is this big body guy, what's the harm in adding him? If I can get a little bump and get a guy that's hot and it's like, hey, I'm looking to stay here. It's exactly what I want to do and I want to grab. So I don't think I'm running out to go get him, but a guy that you need to keep in the back of your mind because if he starts showing out from day one, you might want to add him. We'll talk about it as he gets if and when he gets a call. Let's move on. So how about Johan Tong or Johan Tong? Tong. Apologize for this one as well. Let me see if they have a pronunciation for me. So they do not. So that's the best I can do. Johan Tong is how it is. So again, I'll spell this name JonahTong. So let's get into who he is. So he's a starting pitcher prospect for the New York Mets. Right now, good pitching prospect. This season alone, he's gone up between AA and AAA, living and killing it so far. So through 107 innings pitched, he has 171 strikeouts, a 1.15 ERA, and a .92 WHIP. Absolutely crushing it. Only been up in AAA for a game, it looks like. So still got some time, but normally starting pitchers don't make it to AAA a lot of times. Usually they sit in AA and then they get the call. So I think he's a guy that could be very imminent, and that's the key part. So like if we can see him translate into the bigs and get the call, this is going to be key. He's been good pretty much his entire, I wouldn't say entire career, but the last 2 years at least, finished with a 3.03 ERA last year. This year, now 1.5, taking that step forward. Been always a high K number, and this is exciting for us. So if he can get the call, he's a guy I actually will run out and try and get, because he does have the pedigree. He does have the power and things like that to possibly have an impact on your lineup. So we'll see what the Mets want to do and if they want to rush this guy. He has a 55 out of 55 fastball, 40 out of 45 slider, curveball 55 out of 50, changeup 40 out of 50, and command 30 out of 45. So, let's just see what he does with the opportunity. If he does get the call, there is always an opportunity for a guy like this to just come out and just destroy. Again, same kind of thing I was talking about with McAble, and in regards like, hey, they come out, they don't know. But it's one of those things where any kind of advantage I can take, especially, a guy that's like, okay, cool, I got this middling guy that, I don't know, like it's between like him and Cal Quantrill. I'm obviously going to take the upside of Tong and see if I can ride this out for a couple weeks. So it's a different option. It's an option out there that could be the difference maker. And again, high strikeout upside, could keep the ERA down and could be good. And also is pitching at home in the Mets park, which is a great pitching park. So there is some protection there for him and a good defense behind him. So I think Tong as a whole, if he gets a call, I am going to run to the waivers, and he could be the difference maker in getting you to the next round. So now we're going to transition. I'm going to sneak this one guy in so we can get everybody in for the end of this episode. Jacob Wilson. He is sitting on the IL right now, if I remember correctly, that I think is nearing a return. So Jacob Wilson is due back on 8/19, which is tomorrow. Let's see if he's actually going to be. So Wilson right now is beginning his rehab assignment. This is on the 14th in Las Vegas. Wilson was cleared for full base activity, and earlier this week is now ready to test things out and get some settings. So looking like he's due back any day. Now, the thing about Wilson is he has been killing it this season. Overall, he's been absolutely awesome, a dominating force. Now, he's never really been a guy that we would say is going to crush the ball and hit a whole bunch of home runs and things like that. But he is a guy that's going to be steady and be good. Now, through 369 at bats, he has some good stats on the season. 46 runs, 17 doubles, 10 bombs, 45 ribs, 5 stolen bases, batting a lovely 312, and walked 21 times to 31 strikeouts. He looks good all around. And I think there's another level with this kid. I like him a lot. I've always liked him as a prospect and things like that, where I think he'll be able to take things to an elite level at some point. I don't think he's ever going to be this dude that, will power off the ball, but should be a decent hitter. Probably, I would say 15 home runs, a guy that probably can, get you 10 to 12 stolen bases, hit for average, but get driven in, be high run upside, contribute in the other categories, but really be a batting average extraordinaire, essentially. Now, could this, young 23-year-old develop into a power hitter? Possibly. But that one's going to be a stretch. I mean, he has an average exit velocity of 85.1 miles an hour with only 10 home runs on the season. I just would love to see him steal bases more, which would make him a lot more attractive for fantasy. But it's not like he has an elite sprint speed. It's not really a high percentile, only 26.9 percentile. I mean, 37th percentile, which isn't great. But a guy that has great plate discipline, is able to handle himself and make contact with the ball. And sometimes it's all you need. If you can just be an RBI and run monster with great batting average and chips in home runs and stolen bases here and there, he's going to be valuable for fantasy and definitely make up for guys that don't hit for average. So I'm getting Jacob Wilson. I'm going to stash him just to see what's going on. All right, coming up next, I got guys like Kyle Bradish, who should be back next week, and other guys all coming up next after this. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you're into your eye on your keep your eye on the big game, big name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the game. Prize Picks is a simple way to play. You just pick more or less than 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your pick right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's I've used Prize Picks for years, for a few seasons now, and honestly, I love it. It's simple. I get my lineup in before a cup of coffee finishes brewing. The flex play option is just a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still double my money. Download the Prize Pick app today and use the code LOCKEDON MLB to get $50 in a lineup after you play your first $5 lineup. That code is LOCKEDON MLB to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game, and quite honestly, I love it. I've been using Prize Picks since they become a sponsor last year, and they've been just crushing it for me. I love it. Win money all the time. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, we are back, and like I said, Kyle Bradish is a name we really do need to talk about. Bradish is a starting pitcher for the Baltimore Orioles, and a guy that was, I had pegged to be a very, very high prospect coming into last season. Unfortunately, went down to Tommy John, and now I think we might see him return, and this is huge because, quite honestly, even though guys coming back from TJ are a little bit of the ambiguousness, but we have 2 weeks until playoffs. And next week will be probably his return, which, 1 week he gets at least one out before, you can really decide whether you need to, bench him on that next start or not, depending on the matchup. But if he comes back and is his old self, this is going to be key. Let's just talk about who he is as a player and the last time he played. So he was super valuable when you picked him up off the waiver wires, and just honestly was just a difference maker on your rotation. So in 2023, 168 innings pitched, 168 strikeouts, 2.83 ERA, a 104 WHIP. Honestly, just obliterating guys left and right. Was really great, really great. Even right up until he got TJ in 2024, he had 39 innings pitched, a 53 strikeouts, a 2.75 ERA, and a WHIP of 106. Was just straight killing it. He is a guy that I feel could take the step forward as well in the future. Maybe not this season, where he's going to go well over a K per inning. Suppress the ERA and things like that, and be a very good pitcher in the bigs. I think that even this season comes back. I think even when we get 75% of that, where maybe he's under the K per inning, he's going to just be lights out and things like that. I'm excited. I can't guarantee it with him coming off of Tommy John, but the upside, the enticement, and the excitement around it is just it's got me hot and bothered. Let's put it that way. And you also just look at his pitch mix and things like that. He always got great movement on his fastball and breaking ball. He has a great pitch mix too: sinker, slider, curveball, four-seam fastball. It's funny, he always leads on his kind of like his junk ball-ish stuff. Really leaned on his sinker through that 40% of the time. In 2024, that had a 159 batting average. The slider also had a stellar batting average of 171 batting average against that through that 30% of the time. Curveball through 17% of the time. Lived on that with 227 batting average. Really just crushed it. And same kind of statistics from 2023, which carried over. 168 for that slider, a 228 for that sinker, four-seam fastball. Really got hit around, but hey, at least the curveball was good, and the changeup definitely was not atrocious. So I think that we're going to see a different kind of pitcher this year, obviously, but I think that 2026 is going to be the year that we're really trying to hone in and grab him while the price is still right, unless he absolutely explodes during this, September. But a guy that's, I think, is fantasy gold, and I think everybody needs to have him stashed on their team at this point. So yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about Chase Burns, starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. Obviously, He's been battling stuff. He's due back on the 27th, technically. He resumed throwing on August 18th today as I'm recording. So Burns landed on the 15-day injury list this past Friday after being diagnosed with a grade 1 flexor strain. But the fact that he's already being cleared to throw and backs up the optimism that the righty is not facing an extended absence. If Burns does return, he could do some relief role as a Reds, have a bevy of rotation options. But we'll see. I think that what they put him out there. He was successful. Obviously, he probably will get some relief roles, but at the same time, they'll probably roll him out there if they want to give a guy a rest in the rotation and spread that out. So I could see Burns still getting it and still being valuable for fantasy baseball. So let's just see as we hear the chatter. I'm obviously stashing him just to see if they start talking about, okay, well, he's going to start and then get some work in the bullpen sometimes. But, this is good. And that's if he returns at all. I don't know. Like, obviously, I will stash him if I have the IL spot, but he's also the first one I'm cutting if somebody else goes down that I need to hold, or that there's a better option out on the waivers at that point. But it's definitely that time of the year where guys just might not return this year. So ultimately, keep your eye on him, see if that's going to happen for us and whatnot, and go from there. But all right, our last guy, Jack Caglioni, the mobster himself. Don't mess with the family. All right. I love that song. One of my favorite movies. The Caglioni is another one. Been sitting on the IL for a bit. Is due back on the 19th today as you're listening, coming back from that IL. Caglioni went 4 for 5 with 1 RBI and 1 scored run in his first rehab game in AAA Omaha on Tuesday. This was on August 13th. Caglioni didn't show any rust, and he played his first game and get more in 2 weeks. So this is good. Does he come back? Possibly. I'm adding him. I want to see if he has the Nick Kurtz effect, essentially, where, like, if you remember, Kurtz kind of struggled when he first got the call, somehow found himself on the IL, and then came back like a bat out of hell, and obviously has just been incredible ever since. So I just want to see if that's possible and, see what's going on. Here's a little bit more of an update. Caglioni to rack up several games worth of at bats in AAA before being activated from the IL, but it's made clear that he's ready, and as he can be, he's gone 11 for 20 and hit 2 home runs, double, and just 1 strikeout in his return from the hamstring strain. So this is good. So this is imminent. He's 20% owned. He's a guy I feel you should be stashing on your teams because the upside screams, hey, this could be a difference maker for your bench. I'm 100% getting him out there and on my team ASAP. As we're talking, I already added him. That's what I was doing on my phone. Caglioni, obviously, we've seen the prospect pedigree and the ability that he's shown in the minors that I feel could carry over into the bigs with some time. And whether that's this year or next year, who knows? But just remember, he was touted higher than Nick Kurtz in a lot of spaces and across the industry. So, it's fair to say that there is a world where this happens. He didn't just hit, 17 home runs and 219 at bats, about at 342 this season in the minors before getting the call. This all could just be, hey, I need a little adjustment. I need a little break. I need to get my mojo back. And then boom, here we are. So Caglioni is somebody you definitely need to go out there and stash because he's going to be a contributor. On top of that, honorable mentions, like I promised, Shane Bieber is due back very soon. He's actually season debut is Friday, 56% owned on Yahoo. In addition, who else is getting called back? So also, what's his face? Got it right here. Bryce Miller. Now he's a little bit higher, 66% owned, but he's also coming back today as you're listening. So somebody you should be stashing just to see if he's still got anything left in the tank. I understand it's been a really terrible season for him, but who knows? Maybe the elbow is something that, was really the driving force. And now that he's rested and, gone through the process, maybe he's going to be better. A lot of positive signs coming from the camp. So I'm excited to see if he's going to be able to translate it. I would add those two immediately as well, just to see. Obviously Bieber's been full force. We've talked about him nonstop. But Bryce Miller as well. Why not? Both have great ownership availability, so why not? Thank you for listening today. So please like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. Do everything you can to share the show because we love bringing it to you each and every week. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcast. Peace out, guys.